Hey, what is up guys? It is your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be looking at 6 heroes, right? We got 6 in total and all of their counters. So if you've been struggling in your pubs to pick the right heroes, counter pick with the right heroes, this video will give you some really good clarity. In specific today, we'll be looking at 6 different cores and how to counter them. And of course, I've obviously picked out a couple heroes that I think are quite popular right now and that you're likely seeing in your pub. So if you're excited for this video, smash the like button and subscribe. Of course, it also helps support our channel. We post here every single day trying to provide you guys really good content. And so if you appreciate that and want that to continue, then a quick click of the like button, it really does mean the world. It actually helps quite a lot. All right, so let's get into it. By the way, you guys did get 1,000 likes on the recent episode of Guess the Rank, and therefore we'll be doing another one within the week. You can quote me on that. If I forget, you all can yell at me in the comments, okay? Comment down below, Speed. Don't forget. Don't forget to do guest. Also, you should sign up to the gameleap website. I bet you also didn't see that one coming, but it's in the link down below and you should sign up right now. Our first hero that we'll be looking at is SVEN. SVEN has been dominating pubs. The hero is currently at a 51% win rate, which is quite high, right? I mean, for a while, the hero was not way below 50, but quite a bit below 50. SVEN was struggling. Then all of a sudden, people realized his Ags is pretty good, and they largely increased the duration of God Strength. Ever since, SVEN has been a menace. Now, let's talk about his counters. So the first one is a notorious SVEN counter, and that is BATRIDER. BATRIDER does it all. Now, sure, BATRIDER is a hard hero to play, but at all stages of the game, BATRIDER has answers to SVEN, and let's discuss it. In the laning stage, SVEN's biggest weakness is magical damage. He has Warcry for physical and a stun. However, if you're playing BATRIDER and you're able to build up 3-4 stacks and dive him under tower, it's going to be a kill the large majority of the time, especially if you can play with a Clockwork in lane or a Tiny. It's really free pickings on SVEN. Once you hit level 3 and you get level 2 sticky napalm, you build up 3 to 4 stacks and you can kill him. In the mid game, you also have the same threat. SVEN really likes to take Ancients. You can bully him off Ancients quite easily, right? You have a lot of movement speed. You can kite in and out, drag the enemy team around the map. You can kill him in side lanes. You have Lasso for when he BKBs. SVENs always will buy BKB. There's literally not a SVEN game where they shouldn't buy BKB. If you're playing SVEN and you don't buy BKB, you're crazy. And finally, the last one that is underrated and is going to be on all 3 of the heroes I mentioned is that BATRIDER buys a Blink Dagger. Now you might be saying, Speed, what does that have to do with SVEN counter, being a SVEN counter? Well, Ags, it's as simple as that. It's really as simple as that. If you don't have a Blink, there's really not a lot of other items that counter it. Maybe Lincoln's, BKB, sure. But for a cheap item, Blink is the only one. You can't buy Ghost, you can't buy Glimmer, you can't buy Eul's because he has the Stormhammer Dispels talent. And therefore, Blink is the option. And same thing for PUGNA, which is the second hero. PUGNA, you want to itemize a Blink. You can go Aether, Blinking Glimmer against SVEN, and you can kite him out. It's very practical. You can bait his stun even. You can go close to him, bait it out, blink away, make him waste his stun. On top of that, if he jumps with your teammates, you have to Decrep. That is one of the most valuable utilities in the late game against SVEN. SVEN team comps typically require SVEN to carry the game towards the 30 to 40 minute mark. And if you can Decrep every person who jumps, keep in mind that Decrep is a lower cooldown than Stormhammer. Even with the Stormhammer talent, you can constantly Decrep who he goes on, and it's very easy to see it coming. The Ags is pretty slow, and so you have a hard counter right there. Also, you have a lot of magical damage, and as we talked about, that's a good thing. And finally is ZEUS, another hero with a lot of magical damage, right? You also can shred through the high HP pool of SVEN due to your passive. And finally, what you want to do when you're playing ZEUS is stay as far back as possible, similar to playing PUGNA, and pick up that Blink. If the SVEN finds you, hold the Blink. Do not blink into the fight. Hold the Blink, have Aether Blink, kite him, stay in the back, and do a lot of magical damage. Next up on the list for a hero that you need to counter is Viper. The first hero that counters Viper is Oracle. Oracle all around is really, really good against Viper. 3 of your spells, hard counter Viper. Your Q is a Purge, right? Fortune's End, it's a Purge. And therefore, anytime Viper builds up a bunch of Q stacks, it's purgeable, right? There's quite a few spells that can do this, but Oracle has a really low cooldown one. It's 6 seconds when you max it out. Really good. And so yeah, you have that in the early game. It's actually always good. Then you have your W, completely counters magical damage. For anyone who doesn't know what Oracle's W does, it gives not spell immunity, but complete magic damage immunity. And obviously against Viper, that's really good. Whoever gets Viper Striked, you W them. And finally, your ultimate. It also purges, so there you go. Oh, and I forgot to mention the last thing. What is the most common Viper build right now? Atos. You can purge Atos. Your Q and your ultimate both purge Atos, which makes it very hard for Viper to kill you. Usually supports are free pickings for Viper. Oracle can just completely ignore him and actually counter him. Next up on the list is Pangolier. This one, yes, can go either way. If Pango messes up, Viper will shred his low HP pool. But at the same time, you have a disarm for Viper's constant right clicks. It's very easy for you to get away from his spells, the Nether Toxin in particular. You have Swashbuckle, and most importantly, your ultimate, your roll, is a hard counter to Viper. Any hero that can get on top of Viper and ignore his damage counters him, and Pango I think is a really good example. The disarm and a chain stun. Makes a lot of sense. And finally, lastly, is Morphling. Ever since it got changed where he steals spells, Morphling has been a Viper counter. For the simple reason that when you turn into Viper as Morphling, you get Nether Toxin and Poison Attack. And you combine those two together, and funny enough, Viper's own spells are a counter to Viper because you break his passive, you have a high attack range, you have high attack speed, and so not only can you man up and break the Viper, you actually can just out right click it. It's really cool. Upcoming on the list is Phantom Assassin. She's been dominating, especially in the post scene right now. Seems to be a very popular hero. The current state of PA feels like if she gets to her Battle Fury Deso BKB timing, she's quite unstoppable. Especially with the level 15 Blink Strike cast range talent, she can easily find the backline, pick them off, and kind of just dumpster your team before they can even react. And so here's a couple of counters who can try to deal with that. The first off on the list is SLARDAR. Now, this one's kind of weird, and you might be saying speed, but SLARDAR is physical, and PA has blur. Wouldn't that make it bad? Well, you have to look at the big picture. You have to understand that SLARDAR in the lane doesn't really care about level 1 blur. It's 20% evasion. It's not that bad, and she doesn't take it to level 4, maybe earlier if she decides to go that route. But you're good against PA in lane. You bully her out very, very, very easily. It's quite brutal for PA. Then the amp is extremely useful, right? It's extremely useful against PA. Anytime she blurs, it still gives you a good indicator of where she is, right? So there's that. And finally, she likes to jump the backline supports. And so having a hero that is very quick and can quickly react and protect his backline supports, maybe even itemize with something like a halberd to protect them, is extremely beneficial. So I really like SLARDAR against PA. Next up is Morphling. And really, this is something that I've always felt to be true. Morphling is just like, it's such a solid hero against PA in all aspects. Not necessarily for the same reasons that he counters Viper. It's actually kind of the opposite, but you go E-Blade against PA. And you can hunt her to the ends of the world. Like, PA can't stand E-Blade Morphling. In the early game, you just completely one-shot her every single time. On top of that, what does PA like to do? She likes to jump people and insta-kill them. You can't insta-kill a Morphling as PA. Obviously, if he messes up, sure, but then any hero could kill him. But you guys see what I'm saying. You're so tanky, you're not like a Lina mid who PA can one-shot. You're a mid laner or a safe laner who can survive through the burst and survive through the jump and buys items, Manta and E-Blade, 2 items that both counter PA. And finally, last but not least, is position 5 OMNIKNIGHT. Even position 3 OMNIKNIGHT, offlane OMNIKNIGHT, is quite legit as well. The laning stage is very good against PA. There's absolutely no way she can man up to you. It's not a good matchup for PA in the lane. And then, honestly, later on to the game, very simple reason why you're good against her. You allow one of your cores to man up. With Heavenly Grace and Purification in the mid game, she can't man up to anyone, especially pre-BKB. Purification just does way too much damage to PA. And of course, your ultimate, right? It's just 100% physical damage reduction, which is pretty good against Phantom Assassin. Sure, she can kite it out, but you can buy enough time where your team can't get killed, right? To the point where your team can kill the enemy team. Because really, that's the thing about PA. You just have to make sure your team doesn't instantly die. You can't just lose a hero right off the bat, otherwise PA thrives, and Omni's pretty good at dealing with that. Next up on the list is ZEUS. We talked about ZEUS being the counter to SVEN. How do you counter ZEUS? This hero is a menace in pubs, has consistently had a high win rate for basically the entirety of the world ever since the Big Bang. ZEUS has been there winning Dota 2 pubs. I know it's crazy. It's actually one of the first things that ever happened. I actually think, what, Isn't like Weaver the first thing that ever happened in Dota, or Elder Titan? Oh wait, no, it's like Arc Warden. I don't freaking know. Slacks knows that stuff. I have no idea. I have no idea. But okay, for Zeus counters, number 1, we have IO. This one sounds weird, but honestly, it's quite good. So first off, Zeus relies on burst. You can buy a stick, you can buy raindrops, you can buy a cloak. Glimmer is a very common item on IO, and most importantly, you buy mech. And so whoever Zeus tries to burst, you can mech them and you can heal them, and then they actually survive Zeus's burst, and that's very good. It's just good, you know, like, I don't know what to say. It's, you know, it's just one of those things. Nice. And then second is relocate. The ability to get on top of Zeus at any point in the game is very beneficial. Is Zeus defending him at tier 1 like he always does? Okay, relocate behind him, kill him with your SVEN, bada bing, bada boom. Zeus is dead. Okay, next up on the list is Void Spirit. Honestly, you're gonna see a very common theme between all these heroes. Void Spirit kinda just, you know, jumps Zeus. Zeus can't really do damage to Void Spirit, he's too mobile. And yeah, so you pick up Orchid, or you can solo kill him. You can pick up a Deso and solo kill Zeus. You can pick up a Yules and set up on Zeus for your team. You can pick up an Axe and silence him for 4 seconds, if like basically more if you interval it. And so yeah, yeah, I mean, it's just like, you know, just good. Even in the lane, it's fine. You do fine, so it's just a solid pick, really, you know. All right, next up is LYCAN. This one I really like. Couple reasons. Also Visage, I'd like to kind of give an honorable mention to Visage. Pretty similar to LYCAN in a lot of regards, but you can itemize pipe on these heroes, which is really cool. Like, having a core that can buy a pipe can really enable your team to do well against Zeus, right? So on LYCAN, what can you do? You can go Helm Dom, or, you know, some people don't. You go Necrobook in a pipe, and it's legit, right? It's literally legit. That is a totally fine build. You enable your team to do plenty of damage. You can jump to Zeus and protect your units from dying to his Arc Lightning that does way too much damage by popping your pipe. And frankly, it's just good. Also, Zeus will typically buy items like Glimmer, especially at the higher brackets. So as you go up and up, they'll buy Glimmers and Ghost Scepters, and you have the Purge on the Necromonicon, not Warrior, the Archer. You have the Purge, which is very good against that. And finally, last up on the list is Faceless Void. I'm sure this is to the surprise of nobody. Who likes Void right now? Raise your hand. Nobody? Wow, no one raised their hand. I can't believe it. I hate playing against this hero. You can't kill him. His laning stage is really good. His mid game is really good. He can bully people. Even without Chrono, he can fight fine. Time Dilation is just like a second Chrono. Sometimes I feel like Time Dilation is just a better spell than Chrono. Like, no joke. Against the right heroes, Time Dilation just ends the fight. Have you ever played Invoker against Time Dilation? It's miserable. It's completely unplayable. You actually have 0 movement speed. You get dropped down to the lowest, which is 100. Here comes the comment saying like, oh, but Disruptor can drop movement speeds to 0, blah, blah. Nobody cares, all right? All right. But here's a couple of heroes that counter Void. So the first one is Alch. Funny enough, Liquid just beat OG, and OG did pick Alch. So I guess that kind of goes against my logic here. But the reason why I'm saying this is because I think generally Alch is good against Void. The reason for that is when you're playing against Void, you really want a hero that can just go in. You want a hero that can mess with the Void, right? Because if you don't mess with the Void, then he's gonna hit a 3-man Chrono. That's how it goes. And so Alch is a good option to buy a BKB and an AC and an Abyssal and just man up to the Void to the best of his ability. Void doesn't farm too fast early on, and therefore Alch can build quite a big net worth lead. You can even help kill the Void. After all, you're a carry with a nice little stun. And so yeah, I'm just a fan of this matchup. You prevent a good Chrono, and you out farm him, which is nice. It gives you a good mid-game timing where, especially if Void doesn't have Chrono, you can snowball against the enemy team around the 20 to 25 minute mark. Next up is Doom. The lane's pretty okay. You just bring a Ring of Protection, and then like, take points and devour, run around. Nothing's gonna happen. You're not gonna kill the Void. Void probably won't kill you. It depends on his support. If he has a Grimstroke or something like that, yeah, you might be, have to be a little bit careful. But overall, why is this a good matchup? Not gonna overcomplicate it. You Doom Void. I mean, really, like, what does Void like to do? Especially later on to the game. It likes to go in and time walk off the damage, kite in and out. But with Doom, you can't really do that. And the nice thing about Doom is similar to Alch, you can build a good net worth advantage, you can get a good blink timing, you can buy a Shadow Blade to counter the Void, you can get a Shiva's to deal with its damage, you know, you can even buy a Crimson, which is nice against Faceless Void. All in all, you can itemize against the hero, and then Doom is a natural counter to Faceless Void, so I just like it. Okay, and last, but certainly not least, is Shadow Demon. This is one we've seen a couple times now, I think, in the pro scene. It's good in pubs too, and yeah. You kind of just disrupt who gets chronoed. Okay, that's going to be the end of the video. But yeah, that's kind of about it, guys. Like, honestly, I could have put a lot of heroes here. I could have put Pugna for Decrep. I could have put OD, I guess. Oracle. Dazzle's kind of meh. Dazzle's just like a meh hero. But any hero with a save, it's just good. You do have to be very careful though, that's the problem. You also have Winter Wyvern, that's another option. You just have to be really careful with your positioning. So when you're playing against Void with these heroes, I do recommend you try to pick up. There's actually been some Blink Dagger purchases I've seen in the past, like Oracles will buy Blink against Void. Aether Lens is obviously good to make sure you can actually cast your spell without walking into the Chrono. And yeah, that's where we're gonna end the video. If you guys have any other counters to Void, Zeus, PA, Viper, or SVEN, let everyone know in the comment section down below, or if there's been a hero that you've been struggling with, comment it. I'll try to reply, a couple counters, and give the reasoning. And yeah, all right, sign up to the Game Leap website if you haven't already. If you haven't, I don't know what's wrong. Like, what are you doing? You're the reason the world is gonna go back into lockdown for the second incoming wave of COVID. All right, it's your fault. It's because you don't have a Game Leap sub, all right? So fix that as soon as possible. Click the link down below, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.